Hi everyone, it's Sean from STK again, sitting with Paul Lott from Pan Asia Metals. We supported Paul quite a few years ago in the pre-IPO, then in the IPO to a limited extent, but we have been big supporters. We bought a lot at the 13-14s when it was drifting along and before it had that massive supersonic rally up to 80 cents a year or so ago. And the company has kept hitting its targets, hitting those results that we're always after. In Southeast Asia, low-cost jurisdiction, very good lithium results so far. It's in that EV space, that critical minerals, where we really like to be. Paul, welcome this morning. How are you?
Thanks, Sean. I'm really well. Good to be here. Thanks for having me on.
As we've been going over the weekend and this morning, the markets have been, what can we say? They're not been fantastic lately. Interest rates going up. Stocks that aren't paying dividends have been sort of getting punished. Unfortunately, there's stocks that I've invested in, like Pam, that have been in that kettle of fish. But because we don't have them on margin, we're not really worried about selling. You only really lose when you sell. So what we're trying to do this morning is just to give our investors and myself and my team just a bit of a clarity that everything's still on track. You haven't been affected. I know you've got quite a bit of money in the bank. You did some money, a placement above market. Usually companies take money below market, but you actually got it above market. So congratulations there. In this type of market, that was outstanding. How's everything going and are we on track?
We're on track, and that capital raising says a lot. So what we're seeing in our register is our top 30 or 40 doesn't move. We've got a lot of big investors there who support and see our vision, which is to become a chemical manufacturer in Southeast Asia. So we have no worries there. With regards to our operations, we're doing a lot right now. So investors might know that we've recently moved from Rio and Ket. We moved our 2 rigs over to Bangi Tum. So at Rio and Ket, we have a mineral resource update due. I would expect it's going to be in the first half of April. We're expecting it earlier, but we've included additional holes and additional tons. We had some ripper holes at the end of the program. Over at Bangi Tum, we're looking to test our exploration target, which is drill supported. So investors might know we've got an 8 to 14 million tonne exploration target at Bangi Tum, grading 0.5 to 0.8%. We did some geochem work late last year. We increased our target zone by 200%, which means our exploration target is based on 1/3 of our target zone. And when we increased that target zone, we had 44 of 64 representative rock chips grading on average 1.56% Li2O, with 12 above 2% and the highest 2.62% Li2O, which by any measure are just fantastic grades. So we're expecting a lot from there. So we've got 10.4 million tonnes over at Rio and Ket. We'll be upgrading that. And then we're testing our 8 to 14 million tonne target over at Bangi Tum. And given the increase of our target zone, I think we're going to get additional extra tonnes there. We delivered metallurgical test work earlier this year, fantastic recoveries through to a 3% concentrate, and we're doing chemical test work to convert that into lithium at the moment. We're doing 2 types of test work. We're doing a sulfate roast, which is what the Chinese use, and which puts them at the bottom, in the bottom third of the cost curve globally. And we're also doing an oxidated acid leach with Glencore Technologies in Brisbane. Because they've got some good ideas, apparently. So we'll see how that comes out. We're pretty excited about all of that.
You've said some magic words there, Paul, and I'll just take a couple of highlights. And I'm a layman, I'm not an engineer or anything like that, but we've certainly been following you for a while. So you've got really good drill results that you've had from Rio, I think it's called, sorry. You've moved over to this next site. The geology from this next site compared to the old site, where you've had a lot of success, and you've mentioned that beautiful word, low cost curve, which is just something when you're mining, you've got to be at, because if prices do fluctuate, Pam could be at that low point in the cost curve in the future after you've done your scoping studies. That's just really great to hear. This other asset where you're drilling now, and you've got 2 rigs at the moment, I think you may mention you might be going to another one in the future, so really ramping up that drilling, again, in a low cost jurisdiction. The rock chip samples, were they similar to Rio took when you first came onto that project and you got those great results there? Is it the geology looking similar? Have we got quite a high probability of it working?
The geology is the same in the sense that it's a pegmatite dike swarm, and they're typically lepidolite style dikes. So it's exactly the same geology. The rock chip grades would almost be twice as high. So we're expecting quite an interesting outcome there. We think it'll be a bit better.
Where do you think you'll be able to start announcing results from that drilling campaign?
We only just started several weeks ago. Right now, it typically takes 6 weeks for assays to come through, and we send them in batches. So it takes several weeks to collect a batch. So I wouldn't expect first results out of there for the next 4 to 6 weeks. But what we have announced is on our first drill hole, we were testing part of the exploration target, but we stepped back a bit to drill at depth. And during that drilling, we also discovered a new nice wide fat lepidolite pegmatite, which wasn't in the exploration target, but was parallel to it. So already that says there's more tons to the exploration target. And when you think about exploration target, you can get 4-letter word exploration targets. Really, someone's done a thumb stuck and it's a load of rubbish. But this is drill supported and based on geology. So, you know, a bit of infill drilling, etc., will take it through to a resource fairly quickly.
That's great. So you mentioned in that first sentence where, that first discussion, that you've got an upgrade to a resource coming out soon. Did you say the beginning of April?
Yes. So actually,
first half, rather.
we did say we'd deliver it in the first half of March. So we're late, but the reason is our original mineral resource is based on holes 1 to 46. Our update was going to be based on holes 47 to 94, holes 95 to 102. 102 was the last hole. Were really good holes, particularly the last couple. And we decided to delay it because they'd add a lot more tons. And every time we go through the exercise, it costs 20 to 30 grand. For the sake of a couple of weeks, we keep 30 grand in our pocket, and we'd rather put that in the ground. So that's the reason for the delay. They're really good results. Things are moving along really well at Rion Ket, and Bangi Tum will make it a complete ripper project. Keeping in mind, Bangi Tum's only 8 kilometres from Rion Ket. So, you know, we can have the same plant servicing both.
Well, that just keeps the costs down again. I mean, we just keep hearing from you, low-cost jurisdiction, low-cost curve. Like, it all just keeps coming in the right way.
Yeah, it's fantastic. You know, the reason a lot of chemical processors and manufacturers move to Southeast Asia, in particular Vietnam, Thailand, Malaysia, Indonesia, and the Philippines, is that it's super low cost. And on top of that, lepidolite in China is in the bottom third of the cost curve. So we had all this hoo-ha during 2022 about the Goldman Sachs report and the Chinese lepidolite potentially creating grief for some of the high-cost suppliers in the market. I think we'll probably see a bit of that.
Okay. I mean, it sounds very similar with your drilling and what you're finding where you've gone deeper to, and you've found another deposit. Southern Cross last year, when they were drilling down to, say, 450 metres. Then they went below that and found what they call the sweet zone or the Cinderella zone. There's quite a few names. It's been that good for the share price. Yeah. You drilling down deeper, finding that extra pegmatite, or however you call it. As I said, I'm not a geo, but that could give us another value uptick as well, couldn't it?
Well, our feasibility will look at open cut and also underground, but we're not drilling that deep. I think our deepest top, well, we have actually drilled to nearly 400 metres to test some zones, but we're keeping it shallower. And then as we build and start mining, we can actually look at checking out what's underneath, because that's not going to change our pit shell. Anything underneath the pit shell would be underground anyway.
Well, listen, Paul, that's been fantastic. Just in the shorter term, I know we've discussed mineral resource upgrade, which is good enough in itself. Is there anything else that you've been working on that investors can look forward? I mean, you've got drilling results from the new tenement that you've got that you'll be drilling out, looking for that probably in May. So April, May, there's 2 good things happening. I know I'm being a bit greedy here, but can you give us a third? I mean, I know management own about 44% of the company. Myself and the team have got quite a big percentage in terms, I think I'm in the top 10, I think now. I'm not quite sure where I sit with my particular holdings. There are several entities. But I mean, I'd like that third thing just before we go, if you don't mind.
Well, sure. We've always said that we want to move downstream, and we've been doing a lot of work on moving past lithium carbonate into CAM and looking at potential joint ventures and so on. And Southeast Asia is a rapidly emerging battery and EV ecosystem, which will be one of the most important in the world. And we want to be a big part of that. So I'm hoping that we will have some pretty interesting announcements coming up over the next little while, within the next 3 months, about what we're doing past the mine gate to be involved in this ecosystem, which will actually set PAM up to be a completely different style of lithium company than most of our peers. So most of our peers will be mine gate sellers. Some might produce a lithium chemical through joint venture. We're going to go further than that and become an important player in Southeast Asia.
Listen, Paul, that sounds very, very informative, very, very positive. We can't get away from the markets at the moment, but hopefully that good news will give you some support and start pushing the share price up. I know there's been some good buying recently. That was very good to see. And yeah, let's just hope these announcements push us up. They sound very good, and hopefully they do. So yeah, looking forward to seeing what's coming.
Thanks, Sean. Well, if I could buy shares, but I can't because I'm restricted by the 19.9%, I would. I think this is dirt cheap buying for what we are, being the only lithium developer in Southeast Asia, in the entire global peer group, in one of the fastest growing regions in the world.
That's wonderful, Paul. Thank you so much.
Cheers. Thank you. Thanks, Sean. Good to speak to you.
Thanks.